Hey everyone, this video we're going to talk about how to find intercepts. So you might have heard this term before, right? We have two basic types of intercepts. One is your x-intercept. Well, what is an x-intercept? An x-intercept is a point where your curve, or where the curve crosses the x-axis. Okay, and similarly we have a y-intercept. And a y-intercept is a point where the curve crosses the y-axis. So we're going to look at how to find these intercepts. Okay, so let's see how we find the x-intercepts. So suppose I have this graph here. Okay. So we notice that in this graph touches the x-axis at precisely 2 points, and one point is here and the other point is here. What is special about these points? Well, let's say this point was x1. Well, we know that since it's on the x-axis, it hasn't moved up or down. The y-coordinate's always going to be 0, right? So no matter what these points are, we know that for an x-intercept, we can surely say that the y-coordinate is always going to be 0. And we're going to use that to our advantage. How is that? So to find the x-intercept, right, what we do is we set y equal to 0 and solve the equation for x. Now, let's look at how to find the y-intercepts. So again, assume that I had a graph which went this way. We already found the x-intercepts, right? Our x-intercepts were these points here, so let's call this x1, 0, and let's call this x2, 0. So how do we find the y-intercepts? Well, y-intercept, like we said, it's the point where the graph crosses or touches the y-axis, and that's precisely this point here. What do we notice about this point? Well, this point, the x-coordinate is always 0, right? So it's always of the form 0, y. All right. So now what we're going to do is, first of all, how do we find the y-intercept? So to find the y-intercept, set x equal to 0 and solve the equation for y. Right? And we can do this because we know, again, that if you have a y-intercept, the x-coordinate is always 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how we can find intercepts. So the question is, find the x and y-intercepts of the equation y equals x squared minus 5x plus 6. So let's find the x-intercepts first. Right? And we talked about it, that when we are finding the x-intercepts, we're going to set y equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to set y equal to 0, and I get x squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. And I need to solve this equation. So how do I solve this equation? Well, first I got to factor this, right? And if I factor this, I get x minus 3 times x minus 2 equal to 0, which means x equals 3 or x equals 2. So this equation has two x-intercepts, and the x-intercepts being x equals 3 and 2. Or I can say that this graph, the graph of this function, crosses the x-axis at the points 0, 3 and 0, 2. Now, let's find the y-intercepts. So again, what do we do for finding y-intercepts? Well, we set x equal to 0, and then we solve for y. So if I set x equal to 0, I get y equal to 0 squared minus 5 times 0 plus 6, so I get y equal to 6. And that is my y-intercept. Right? Or I can also say that this graph crosses the y-axis at the point 0, 6.